The flashing red and blue lights cut through the night as Officer Jake Collins pulled over a black sedan. It was supposed to be a routine traffic stop. Expired tags, nothing more. But as he approached the driver's window, tension hung in the air. The woman behind the wheel, calm but firm, asked why she was being stopped. Something about her confidence unsettled him. He demanded ID. She hesitated. A few moments later, handcuffs clicked around her wrists. Back at the station, as Jake processed her information, his stomach dropped. The name on the screen wasn't just familiar, it was powerful. He had just arrested a sitting state senator. His heart pounded. Had he just made the biggest mistake of his career? But just when he thought things couldn't get worse, an unexpected twist turned everything upside down. And what happened next would change everything. Jake's mind raced as he stared at the screen. Senator Olivia Carter, a well-known advocate for justice reform. He had seen her on the news, speaking out about issues within law enforcement. And now, here she was, sitting in a holding cell because of him. Something wasn't adding up. She hadn't resisted. She hadn't even argued. She only asked questions he had been too tense to answer. Why didn't she show her ID right away? Why was she driving with expired tags? And more importantly, why did she seem more disappointed than angry? Jake glanced at his sergeant, who was already on the phone. The conversation was hushed, but Jake caught enough. People higher up were getting involved. Fast, he swallowed hard. He had followed procedure, hadn't he? But as he replayed the moment in his head, doubt crept in. Something about this wasn't right, and he was about to find out why. Jake's hands felt clammy as he watched the sergeant's expression shift. Whatever was being said on the other end of that phone call wasn't good. He could feel it. Across the room, Senator Carter sat with her hands folded, her expression unreadable. No outrage, no panic, just patience, like she had been here before. That made Jake even more uneasy. His fellow officers whispered among themselves, throwing glances his way. The air in the station felt heavier now, thick with something unspoken. Had he overstepped? He replayed the traffic stop again in his head. The way she looked at him. Not afraid, not angry, just waiting. Then, the sergeant hung up the phone and turned to him. "We have a problem," he said, his voice low. "She wasn't alone when you pulled her over." Jake's stomach twisted. He had only focused on her. But now, a new question burned in his mind. Who else had been in that car? Jake's pulse pounded as he tried to process the sergeant's words. "What do you mean she wasn't alone?" His voice came out sharper than he intended. The sergeant exhaled, lowering his voice. "Dashcam footage. There was someone in the passenger seat when you made the stop, but by the time backup arrived, they were gone." Jake's breath hitched. That wasn't possible. He had focused on the senator, her steady gaze, the way she asked questions instead of reacting. Had that been intentional? Had she been distracting him? And if so, why? A cold feeling crawled up his spine. Who was in the car? The sergeant hesitated before responding. "That's the problem. We don't know." Jake's mind raced. How had he missed this? More importantly, who had he let slip away into the night? And just as the weight of his mistake sank in, another officer rushed over, his face pale. "You need to see this. Now." Jake followed the officer through the station, his heart hammering with every step. He wasn't sure what he was about to see, but the dread in the officer's expression told him it wasn't good. They stopped in front of a monitor. The screen flickered, then played grainy security footage from the parking lot outside. At first, there was nothing unusual, just squad cars, officers coming and going. But then, at the far edge of the screen, a shadow moved. Someone slipping between the cars, barely visible in the dim light. Jake squinted, trying to make out a face, but the figure kept to the darkness. Then something made his blood run cold. The figure paused just before disappearing completely and turned toward the camera. It was only for a split second, but it was enough. Jake recognized that face. He stepped back, his stomach twisting. The person who had vanished from Senator Carter's car wasn't just anyone. It was someone Jake never expected to see again. Jake's breath caught in his throat. He knew that face. It had been years, but there was no mistaking it. The man who had slipped away from Senator Carter's car was Ryan Holt, a former cop, once Jake's partner, before he was forced to resign under suspicious circumstances. His mind spun. What was Ryan doing with a state senator? And why had Carter acted so calm, almost like she knew this would happen? Jake turned to his sergeant, but before he could speak, the station doors burst open. A group of officials entered, their expressions unreadable. At the center of them was Senator Carter, now out of her holding cell, walking with purpose. She stopped in front of Jake, holding his gaze. "You didn't arrest me tonight," she said, her voice steady. "You walked straight into something bigger than you realize." Before Jake could respond, an officer called out, "We just got a report. Ryan Holt has been spotted." Jake's stomach dropped. Whatever this was, it wasn't over. Not even close. Jake felt the weight of the moment settle in. He had started his shift expecting a routine night, but now he was caught in something far bigger than a traffic stop. Senator Carter's words echoed in his head. Asterisk, you walked straight into something bigger than you realize. Asterisk, he didn't know what that meant yet. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just about him. The sergeant pulled him aside, his face tense. "Feds are taking over. Stand down." Jake clenched his jaw. Stand down, after everything. But as he looked back at Carter, she gave him a knowing glance, almost as if to say, asterisk, this isn't your fight, asterisk. As the senator walked away, Jake exhaled. He had questions, too many. But one thing stuck with him. This wasn't just about an arrest. It was about power, secrets, and the things hidden in plain sight. And whether he liked it or not, he had just gotten his first glimpse.